You mentioned Secretary Salazar, obviously our former U.S. Senator here, former Attorney General of our state. Kerman Rhodes writes in saying, what was your reaction to Senator Salazar being appointed Secretary of the Interior?
I'm delighted. I think he understands these issues. He understands that we have to head for a green economy. He understands, he values the American landscapes, the public lands, and understands that they have to be protected for the good of generations of American citizens, as Teddy Roosevelt said, and not simply be sold at fire sale prices to the malefactors of great wealth, to the robber barons from the extractive industries who want to destroy something that belongs to all the American people.
You talk about extractive industries. Robert Heaps from Parker writes in saying, do you think it's prudent to allow further drilling either offshore or in other areas of the U.S. while the alternative energy sources are developed and available?
Well, I think a lot of those questions are economic issues. Are direct economic issues. Where are we going to get the better bang for the buck? Where's the cheapest barrel of BTUs? And it's not offshore, and it's not in the Arctic. It's in conservation. We should invest that money in conservation. We should invest it in solar. We should invest it in wind. We should, the oil industry receives $1.3 trillion in subsidies every single year. The coal industry, $1 trillion in subsidies. And the nuke industry, about $500 billion. So these huge subsidies to the incumbents have created the principal impediment, the illusion that they are actually cheaper. But you're paying for oil, in many, many other ways, and the huge healthcare impacts that it has on the American population, in the military protection in the Gulf, the $4.5 trillion that OMB now says the Gulf War is going to cost us. All of these things are part of the cost of oil. The oil depletion allowance is the direct federal subsidy. What we need to do is have a true marketplace. And if you have a true marketplace where all the actors in the marketplace pay the cost of bringing their product to market, you will see wind and solar, tidal, geothermal, all these alternative energies simply erase carbon from the marketplace and do it very quickly.
We had on this summer T. Boone Pickens sat in a similar chair to yours and answered questions about his plan. And he was looking, to a certain extent, I think it's fair to say, for some sort of a subsidy for the government to set up and help with the transmission lines. Can this all be done without government interference, without government help? Or
it could be done, but it would be much slower. And we need to move fast. We're supposed to be in a war. We need a war footing. We need to do what Roosevelt said, did during at the beginning of World War II, where he told the automobile industry, you're not making cars anymore, you're making planes. Well, we need to be telling the automobile industry, you need to be making electric cars now. You need to create the backbone. This is what the government needs to do. And a lot of this can be done by private utilities, but some federal government help. It'll cost about $150 billion to build an energy backbone in this country that can bring energy to every American and buy energy from every American. So that if you have a solar panel on your roof and your house is creating more energy during some part of the day than it's using, you ought to be able to sell that back to the grid and get market rates for it. We need to power this country on American initiative and entrepreneurship rather than Saudi oil. We need to create a national grid that will turn every American into an energy entrepreneur, every home into a power plant, and power this country from good old-fashioned American initiative. Now, we did this with the ARPANET grid, with the Internet grid in 1979. The federal government built a federal backbone for the ARPANET, for the Internet that connects to every American. A year later, there were fewer than 500 PCs in this country in 1980. And IBM said it was a dead-end technology. Well, today, everybody has a PC, and the cost of electrons, of bits and bytes, have plummeted. That's the same thing that will happen to energy as soon as we build a national marketplace. Now, you need to build the marketplace, and the government needs to do that. Once that marketplace is there and the rules are established, you're going to have private entrepreneurs flooding into that marketplace. I have a company that wants to do it. T. Boone wants to do it. Warren Buffett. There are many, many, many other companies out there that want to quickly build up an energy grid of wind and solar in this country. That's going to cost investments of about $650 billion. But once we build those investments, we will have free energy in this country forever. The electrons are hitting the earth every day for free. All we have to do is create the infrastructure to pick them up and put them into the lines. You don't have to go over to Saudi Arabia, punch holes in the ground, bring up the oil, expensively refine it, send it under ships with a military escort back to this country, get in periodic wars in Mesopotamia and Saudi Arabia to defend the oil lines, and then, ship it across this country in trucks and deliver it to power plants. No, you just build a solar thermal plant once, and it's there forever. And the electrons are hitting it for free, and you collect them. And we get free energy forever in this country for under $1 trillion, which is less than 1/4 of the price of the Iraq War.
Let me shift you to a personal question from Barbara Kuzbel, who wants to know, how do you think your family and their impact on history has influenced the choices you've made in your life?
Well, I think my father tried to inculcate in us a viewpoint that America was an exemplary nation, and that that if Providence shined on us, that really imposed a trustee's obligation to use the things that we were given to give back to our country and to fight to make America to live up to its ideals. And I think all the things that I do in the environment and the other arenas are based upon, or grow out of a commitment to trying to perfect American democracy, to make a democracy work for all the people of our country, and to make America, again, an exemplary nation the way that it's supposed to be.
You brought up your father. Catherine Musser from Centennial wants to know a couple of questions, and I thought they were both good, so I wanted to ask them both. How often do you think about your dad, and how do you want people to remember him?
Well, I think somebody else would be better able to answer that question. I remember as my father, he was a wonderful father who took an extraordinary interest in his children, who tried to encourage, my own interest in nature and the environment from when I was a little boy, and whose, life was really an example of somebody who was fighting to make this nation to live up to its ideals.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., thank you so much for being with us on your show.
Thanks for having me.